Alright, so in this video I want to compare and contrast working for myself versus working for a corporation or a company or for somebody else. And specifically I want to talk about challenges. I'm going to talk about two unique challenges that I faced that were pretty difficult for me at least when working for a company, and also two unique challenges that I'm facing now that are pretty difficult when working for myself. So I think if you are working for a corporation and thinking about working for yourself, this video could be really useful for you. And the converse is true. If you're working for yourself and thinking about going to work for a corporation, this video could be helpful for you to just hear about one person's perspectives on the challenges they've faced. That's enough of a preamble, but again, I just want I guess I have a little more preamble. Each person's situation is completely different, right? I was a software engineer, and I left to spend some time working on YouTube and music full time for a while. Your situation could be totally different, right? You could be working in a different job. A different type of job might not have these same problems that I'm going to talk about. Um, and so anyway, I just wanted to say, and if you a different type of work for yourself might not have these same problems. So all right, let's jump into this because yeah, let's just get into this. So I was before working for myself, I was a software engineer at CNN, the large media organization, for 5.5 years. I worked for 3.5 years as a front end engineer, and the last 2 years I worked as a back end engineer, right? And so one of the most difficult things for me, it was a great it's a great job, and I might honestly like go back, see if I can go back to that job at some point, because it was a really great job, really sharp people, really fun projects to work on, getting just build stuff that millions of people use. It's just a really fun place to work. But the biggest con for me was this lack of flow state, right? So the reason I liked software engineering so much is because I just love that flow state. I love that state where you're just dialed in, working, uninterrupted, everything's shut off, and you can just concentrate and just work, and just not, you're not thinking, you can basically, you can do one task at a time, right? You don't have to be answering instant messages, Slack messages, and emails between like writing code. You can just sit down and just write code for an hour or two straight, and that's really a good feeling. That's why I like playing sports. That's why I like playing instruments. That's why I like journaling. That's why I like reading. I like just shutting everything off and just doing one task at a time. That's why I like meditating, right? And so that is what really appealed to me about software engineering, because that type of behavior is rewarded, right? So, but when it comes to working for, at least my experience at CNN, in order to get that, you have to almost work outside of office hours, right? Like all the people I knew who were really high performing engineers, they seem to sign on, like they seem to work outside of the 9 to 5 hours to get that flow state, and to get that like high frequency. All the best engineers I knew were, and just for the record, I'm not like one of the best engineers. There were people who were running laps around me over there, but there were people who I knew were really good were like signing on late at night, or they would, honestly, I knew engineers who would take PTO, like some of the really high up engineers, they would take like a week or two of PTO and just work during their PTO, like just code during their PTO, and so that they didn't have to deal with meetings. And so that was always like tough for me, right? Because I wanted I the my favorite part about work is falling into that flow state, and you only need like an hour or two of it, and you can get so much work done, right? But I just never felt like I always felt like I had to. It was I couldn't get enough of it, right? I feel like maybe I'd get like half an hour of it, and then I'd think, oh my gosh, I gotta check Slack, or I gotta check my messages to make sure that somebody doesn't need me right now. You know what I mean? And so it kind of bothered me that I'd always have to schedule that time outside of work if I really wanted to flow. So that was the number one challenge I faced working for a corporation. The second challenge that I faced, and there were more, but the second one that I faced was a lot of mental and physical fatigue, right? Because I would just sit down, I'd just be sitting in these meetings a lot of times, and just spending a lot of time sitting at a desk. And yeah, sometimes I would pace on these calls, and that would help a lot. But I spent a lot of time just like in front of a screen, and that would really caused me a lot of times at the end of the day to just feel super fried. You know, I talked about this my ideal work schedule in another video, and yeah, maybe it's a little too idealistic, but my ideal work schedule is to just be as productive as humanly possible for like 4 hours, and do that 7 days a week, and then spend the rest of the time recharging my health as hard as I can, so that I can go do that 4 hours again, like even more productive the next day. So like spend 4 hours working in front of a computer or whatever, and then spend like the rest of the day meditating and reading and lifting weights and playing an instrument and going on walks and talking to people and doing all this stuff that recharges me fully, so then the next day when I have that like first 4 hours in the morning, I can just be even more productive, and then that allows me to be even more like have even more recharging activities. That's like the ideal, right? And so I think I could be a little bit idealistic. That's a little too idealistic to ask from an employer who's going to obviously want you to be available for like 8 to 10 hours a day. But just, being in meetings, I'd have like 3 4 hours of meetings a day, just being in like on Zoom calls, and they were good meetings. They're important to have. Like if we didn't have those meetings, you needed all that communication to work, right? So but I would have these 3 or 4 hours of meetings, and I'd be trying to like squeeze in code in between, um, and then if I really wanted to get work done, I would have to like try to be like try to figure out a way to get my mind right for flow state before or after work, and um, yeah, and I just felt like this fried feeling. Like my body always felt like it wasn't getting enough movement. My mind always felt just fried, tired. Like it wasn't didn't have that same agility, that same relaxed sharpness to it. It was just kind of this exhausted mind, and I felt like that a lot of the time, even when I was not working. And so that those are the two biggest challenges I face, right, in when we're working for a company. But so and then so I just so recently I decided to take this creative break where I'm working full time on YouTube and music, but that is not without its challenges. So we're going to transition now to the unique challenges that I'm facing doing that, working full time as a as trying as someone who's trying to create YouTube content and someone who's trying to make music. So these are the unique challenges that I face. Now, let's jump into the unique challenges I face working for myself. So the biggest unique challenge I face when working for myself is retaining this self discipline and self motivation when my mind has a negative thought or two. Because somehow, like, if my mind, if I have like some negative thoughts that come into my mind, I feel as if like when I was working for a corporation, I was able to compartmentalize pretty easily, because I would have like maybe a few negative thoughts, and then I'd be able to go and say, okay, like I need to work, and I need to like get to work right now, because there's all these people who like need this work from me. There's meetings I have to go to. There's people I'm interacting with. Maybe I'm going into the office, and so I'm like changing my environment really. And so it was easy for me to just be like, okay, I'm gonna, like, even though I'm having this like these negative, whatever it is, like some sort of negative thought about whatever it is, maybe it's like maybe it's, I don't know. You guys know, as a human being, sometimes we have negative thoughts, and like I think that's part of like at least what I'm trying to work on with meditation, is being able to have like a negative experience or negative, like, have these negative thoughts that hit me, and then allow them to just go, and not spend so much time kind of like ruminating in a space of overthinking, or like in a negative space, right? So it was really easy to just let any like negative or like moodiness go when I was working for a corporation, because I would get hit with like, some sort of negative thought. Maybe somebody would say something to me that I didn't like. Maybe I'd get in a little bit of like a debate with a family member or something, and then it was really easy for me to just let it go and get to work. Whereas like when I'm working for myself, sometimes it's because it's just me. Like I might get to a coffee shop. Usually I do a lot of my work at a coffee shop, or I might like sit down and record videos, and my mind is like, okay, we still need to think about this a little more. We still need to like figure this out, But if I, and so then I might end up in like this negative space for longer, versus when I was working for a corporation, I would just like go to work, and then I would be like, I don't have time. I can't think about this right now. I don't have the luxury of time and space to think about this right now. So I just need to get to work, and that would actually end up working out in my favor in terms of like managing, in terms of spending less time sometimes in a negative state. So that is something that I've uniquely found when working for myself, is that sometimes I'll fall into a negative state, and I end up spending longer time in that state, in that kind of unhealthy mental space. You can call it unhealthy, but it's just it's a non-positive mental space, you know. And so that is like probably the biggest challenge that I face when working for myself, that I did not face when working for a corporation. The second thing that is unique to working for myself is is having like a steady paycheck. You at least like you get used to, even though I saved up for this creative break, you get used to that steady paycheck, right? And it's hard. It's like psychologically, it can be difficult to switch to a non-steady, you know, and especially in the beginning, like right now where I'm at, where my YouTube channel is growing, my music, I'm creating as much music as I can, and I have a little bit of a following, like a few people who listen to my music, but not a ton yet. And so I'm at this space right now where it's taking me time to actually be able to make money, where I was making good money as a software engineer. And so the psychology of how you spend money can be like realistically, I know, logically I know that I can go and get a job again if I need money, and logically I know that if I stick with this stuff long enough, eventually it would be really cool to monetize it. But emotionally, it can be difficult to manage that. You know, when you just have that like nice steady check coming in, your mind is just relaxed. You're not thinking. You're not thinking about it. You don't feel any of that like stress at all. That financial stress. Like, so that's the second thing that I would say is pretty difficult. Is difficult about working for yourself. So there are more things, and these are unique. Like I don't have a problem with flow state when working for myself. I can flow every single day. I spend so much time in flow state, you know, when working, when working for myself, and I don't have this mental and physical fatigue anymore, because I'll sit down and work for a couple hours, and if I start to feel, oh, my body needs movement, I'll go lift for an hour and then come back and work for another hour or two. Or if I am sitting down and I say, oh, I feel a little bit fried, I'll go take a nap for 30 minutes or go for a long walk, and then I'll come back. You know, I don't have to push through being fried because I have back-to-back 3 to 4 hour meetings, you know. And so I don't have, that's again, those problems were unique to working for a corporation. Similarly, like I mentioned, if I'm in a negative state and I'm going to the office to go interact with people, that negative state is just going to clear the second I walk into the office and I'm having to deal with something, and interact with a bunch of different people. It's just going to clear right away. I don't have to deal with longer negative states. I didn't have to deal with longer negative states when I was working for a company. Similarly, I had a steady paycheck, so I didn't have to deal with this logicking of that I have to do with my mind of, oh, it's okay, you know, if I just stick with YouTube and music long enough, I'll eventually be able to monetize. And if I really need money, I can pick up any sort of job. You know, I can teach tennis, I can be an engineer again, I can go work at a bar. There's other things I can do to get money if my savings start to run low. So I have these are unique problems to each situation. So I thought I would share. Again, I'm just one person's perspective, but you, depending on what your situation is, your work situation, you might not be a software engineer watching this, but you probably have unique challenges to your work situation. And depending on what you're going to do, you might not be leaving your job to make music and create YouTube videos. You might be doing something else. Depending on what your unique work situation is and what your unique work for yourself situation is, these challenges might be, your biggest challenges might be different. But I thought I'd share mine because I think it can help to hear another person's perspective. So anyway, thank you for tuning into my content. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, do leave me a like and subscribe if this was useful at all for you. It would definitely help me out. I'd really appreciate it. I think I'm at about 18 or 19 subscribers at the recording this video. So I'm definitely trying to move my way to that I'm shooting for like that 30 mark. I think would be a cool milestone. But right now, yeah, just trying to create videos. And so anyway, I'd appreciate any support, and I will talk to you all on the next one. All right, take care.
Sitting down like an elevator ride, heavily putting sounds in the cloud, and I don't think twice. It was just last year, I was scared to post. I didn't want to share all the songs that I wrote. Lyrics I would write and burn the flames on the stove. I lacked courage to promote. But now I'm getting close, open mic show, stepping up 10 toes, stage fright feel but overthrow.